There are moments in life that divide everything into a before and an after, and sometimes they happen in complete silence, inside a dimly lit room, with nothing but a screen and a heartbeat. Or in this case, we walked into that ultrasound appointment expecting reassurance, maybe a glimpse of something small and fragile, something that would slowly grow into a dream we were just beginning to understand. But nothing could have prepared us for what we were about to hear. Not one rhythm, but two. Not one life unfolding, but two stories beginning at the exact same moment. In that instant, the world didn't just expand, it doubled. And so did the responsibility, the fear, the wonder, and the love. Twin pregnancy is often described as rare, miraculous, and overwhelming, but those words barely scratch the surface of what it truly feels like. It's not just about expecting two babies. It's about navigating a completely new emotional landscape where everything intensifies, from joy to uncertainty. Today, we're diving into one of the most unforgettable moments in this journey, the first ultrasound where two heartbeats changed everything. If you've ever wondered what that moment feels like, or if you're walking a similar path yourself, this story is for you. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that life's most unexpected moments often carry the deepest meaning. The day of the first ultrasound arrived with a quiet mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation, the kind that sits gently in your chest but refuses to settle completely, as if your body already knows that something significant is about to happen even before your mind can fully process it. We had imagined this moment countless times, picturing a single tiny heartbeat flickering on the screen, a simple confirmation that everything was progressing as it should. The room was softly lit, filled with a calm, almost sacred stillness, and the faint hum of medical equipment added to the sense that we were stepping into something larger than ourselves. As we sat there, hands intertwined, there was a shared understanding that this moment would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one we thought we understood, but were about to discover in ways we could never have predicted. When the technician began the ultrasound, time seemed to slow down, stretching each second into something almost tangible, as if we could reach out and hold it. Our eyes were fixed on the screen, searching for meaning in shapes and shadows we didn't yet understand, waiting for that first glimpse of life. Then came the sound, a soft, rhythmic pulsing that filled the room and instantly anchored our attention. It was the heartbeat we had been waiting for, strong and steady, a sound that carried reassurance and awe in equal measure. But before we could fully absorb it, something unexpected happened. The technician paused, adjusted the device slightly, and then another rhythm emerged, equally distinct, equally alive. Two separate beats, echoing through the room like a revelation that redefined everything we thought we knew in a single, breathtaking moment. At first, the realization didn't fully register, as if our minds needed extra time to catch up with what our ears had already confirmed. Two heartbeats meant two lives, two journeys unfolding simultaneously, and the magnitude of that truth felt almost too large to grasp all at once. There was a silence that followed, not because there was nothing to say, but because there were too many emotions colliding at once: shock, joy, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of wonder. It was as though the universe had quietly rewritten our story without asking for permission, offering us something far beyond what we had imagined. In that moment, everything shifted, not just our expectations, but our entire perception of what this pregnancy would mean, expanding it into something more complex, more demanding, and infinitely more beautiful. Tears came unexpectedly, not as a dramatic outpouring, but as a quiet, uncontrollable response to the weight of the moment, slipping down without warning as if they had been waiting for this exact realization to surface. It wasn't just happiness, although there was plenty of that. It was something deeper, something that felt almost sacred, as if we were witnessing a miracle unfolding in real time. The idea of becoming parents had already begun to reshape our lives, but now it carried a new dimension, one that doubled the responsibility and, at the same time, doubled the love we were beginning to feel. There was a profound awareness that nothing would ever be the same again, that from this point forward, every decision, every plan, every dream would need to make room for not one, but two new lives. As the ultrasound continued, the screen transformed from a source of uncertainty into a window of clarity, revealing two tiny forms that seemed impossibly small yet undeniably present. Each movement, each flicker of life, carried a significance that felt almost overwhelming, as if we were being invited to witness something both fragile and powerful at the same time. The technician explained what we were seeing, pointing out details that would have seemed abstract just moments before but now felt deeply personal. It was no longer just a medical procedure. It was an introduction, a first meeting with the lives we were responsible for nurturing. And as we watched, there was a growing sense that these two heartbeats were not just signals of life, but promises of everything that was yet to come. Leaving the appointment, the world outside felt strangely different, even though nothing had visibly changed. The same streets, the same sounds, the same rhythm of everyday life continued as if nothing extraordinary had happened, yet everything felt transformed from within. There was a quiet awareness that we were now carrying a secret, something invisible to others but profoundly real to us. Two heartbeats echoed in our minds, a constant reminder that life had just expanded in a way we could not reverse or ignore. It was both exhilarating and intimidating, a duality that seemed to define the entire experience of a twin pregnancy from that moment forward. Every step we took felt slightly heavier, not in a burdensome way, but in a meaningful one, as if each movement carried the weight of something precious. In the days that followed, the reality of expecting twins began to settle in more fully, not as a sudden revelation, but as a gradual unfolding of understanding that touched every aspect of our lives. Simple thoughts turned into complex considerations, and plans that once seemed straightforward now required a new level of preparation and flexibility. There was an ongoing internal dialogue, a constant recalibration of expectations as we tried to imagine what life would look like with two newborns instead of one. Yet, alongside the practical concerns, there was a deepening sense of connection, a growing bond that seemed to strengthen with every passing day. The two heartbeats we had heard were no longer just a memory, they had become a presence, something we carried with us in every thought, every conversation, every quiet moment of reflection. Fear inevitably found its way into the experience, not as a dominant force, but as an undercurrent that reminded us of the responsibility we now held. The idea of caring for two lives simultaneously brought with it questions and uncertainties that we had never considered before, pushing us to confront our own limitations and doubts. Would we be able to handle the challenges? Would we have enough energy, enough patience, enough love to give equally to both? These questions lingered in the background, not to diminish the joy, but to add depth to it, making the experience more real and more grounded. And yet, even in the presence of these fears, there was a quiet confidence beginning to take shape, a belief that somehow we would find a way to grow into the roles we were being called to embrace. As we shared the news with close family and friends, their reactions mirrored our own initial surprise, creating a ripple of excitement that extended beyond our immediate experience. Each conversation became an opportunity to relive that moment, to describe the sound of the two heartbeats and the way it had shifted everything in an instant. There was a sense of community forming around us, a network of support that felt both comforting and necessary. At the same time, there was an awareness that this journey, while shared in many ways, was also uniquely ours, defined by our own emotions, our own perspectives, and our own evolving understanding of what it meant to prepare for not one, but two new lives. The physical aspects of the pregnancy began to reflect the uniqueness of the situation as well, with changes that felt more pronounced, more demanding, and sometimes more exhausting than expected. Each sensation carried a new level of significance, a reminder that there were two growing lives contributing to every shift and every discomfort. It required a different kind of awareness, a deeper connection to the body and its signals, as well as a greater level of care and attention. And yet, even in the midst of these challenges, there was a sense of purpose that made everything feel worthwhile, a constant reminder that each moment of discomfort was part of something much larger, something that was gradually taking shape with every passing day. There were quiet moments, often in the stillness of the evening, when the reality of it all would settle in more deeply, creating space for reflection and a deeper emotional connection to what was happening. These moments were not filled with noise or distraction, but with a gentle awareness of the journey unfolding within. It was during these times that the memory of the first ultrasound would resurface most vividly, bringing with it the sound of those two heartbeats and the emotions that had accompanied them. It became a kind of anchor, a point of reference that we could return to whenever the experience felt overwhelming or uncertain, reminding us of the beauty and significance of what we were going through. As the weeks turned into months, the concept of twin pregnancy evolved from something abstract into something tangible, something that could be felt, seen, and gradually understood. The initial shock gave way to a deeper sense of acceptance, and eventually, to a kind of quiet excitement that felt more grounded and sustainable. We began to imagine not just the arrival of two babies, but the dynamic between them, the bond they would share, and the unique experiences they would have growing up together. It added another layer to the anticipation, one that extended beyond individual lives into the relationship that would define so much of their journey. Preparation took on a new meaning as we adjusted to the idea of doubling everything, from practical necessities to emotional readiness. It wasn't just about having enough supplies or creating enough space. It was about expanding our capacity to care, to nurture, and to be present in a way that could accommodate two distinct individuals at the same time. This required a shift in mindset, a willingness to embrace complexity and uncertainty while maintaining a sense of balance and intention. It was not always easy, but it was deeply meaningful, offering a sense of growth that extended beyond the immediate experience into something that would shape us for years to come. The connection between the two babies became a source of fascination and wonder, something that we would often think about and try to imagine in our own way. There was something profoundly beautiful about the idea that they were sharing this journey from the very beginning, experiencing the world together even before they were born. It created a sense of unity that felt both mysterious and comforting, a reminder that they were not just two separate lives, but part of a shared story that had begun long before we could fully understand it. This perspective added depth to our experience, making it feel richer and more interconnected. Moments of doubt continued to appear from time to time, often triggered by the unknowns that lay ahead, but they were balanced by a growing sense of resilience and adaptability. Each challenge we faced became an opportunity to learn, to adjust, and to strengthen our confidence in our ability to navigate this unique journey. There was a gradual realization that perfection was not the goal, and that what mattered most was the willingness to show up, to care, and to do our best in each moment. This shift in perspective allowed us to move forward with a greater sense of ease, even in the face of uncertainty. Looking back on that first ultrasound, it became clear that it was more than just a medical milestone. It was a turning point that had redefined our understanding of life, love, and responsibility. The sound of those two heartbeats had not only confirmed the presence of two babies, but had also awakened something within us. A deeper awareness of our capacity to grow, to adapt, and to embrace the unexpected. It was a moment that would stay with us forever, not just as a memory, but as a foundation upon which the rest of our journey would be built. And as the journey continued, there was a quiet sense of gratitude that accompanied each new experience, a recognition that while this path was not the one we had initially imagined, it was one that held its own unique beauty and significance. The challenges, the surprises, the moments of doubt and joy, all of it combined to create something that felt deeply meaningful and profoundly transformative. It was a reminder that life rarely unfolds exactly as we expect, but often offers something even more extraordinary in its place. Hearing two heartbeats for the first time is more than a moment. It is a transformation that reshapes how you see life, love, and your own capacity to grow. It teaches you that sometimes the most unexpected surprises carry the deepest meaning, and that what initially feels overwhelming can become the very thing that expands your heart beyond what you thought was possible. A twin pregnancy is not just about doubling responsibility. It is about multiplying connection, purpose, and wonder. And in the end, those two heartbeats are not just sounds you once heard, they become a rhythm that stays with you, guiding you into a future you never planned, but one that was meant for you all along.